Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Wednesday, and all of today's guests, including Bob Stauffer, up at Edmonton, ready to talk about Evander Kane coming to Vancouver, brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians. C's homestand against Eugene continues tonight, and this weekend features a fireworks night, nooner, Marvel Superhero Day, and a White Spot Family Fun Sunday. Check out the full schedule. Get your tickets at CanadiansBaseball.com or call 604-872-5232. C's beat Eugene 6-3 last night. All right, the Vancouver Canucks have acquired the pride of East Vancouver, Evander Kane, from the Oilers for a fourth-round draft pick. We found out about that earlier this morning. Here to talk about that from Edmonton, 880 CHED. He's an Oliers analyst. Bob Stauffer, our friend. Bob, thanks for doing this, sir, on short notice. How are you?
Good, Donnie and Dolly. How you guys doing?
Lovely. Very well. Your reaction to this deal, Evander Kane to Vancouver for a fourth-rounder.
Well, good teams in a cap system sometimes can't keep all their players. It's well documented that Leon Draisaitl's contract extension kicks in this year. The Oilers are negotiating with Evan Bouchard as we speak, and then there's the looming Connor McDavid extension, and that would give Edmonton the best triumvirate in the league statistically. I mean, they're the three highest scoring players over the last 4 years worth of the playoffs. McDavid and Draisaitl are top two scoring players in the league over the last, I guess, decade since Connor's come into it. And unfortunately, in these situations for teams, you lose good players. For Vancouver, there was points last year where the Canucks had one Canadian player on their team. Evander Kane has an identity. He brings it on the ice. He was heavily invested in the community off the ice, which I don't think everybody realizes out there. And for the naysayers of this transaction, all I would say is there was naysayers when Evander came to Edmonton, and within about 2 months, everybody loved him. So I frankly think he's exactly what the Canucks need. And if we didn't have a salary cap, I don't think the Oilers would have traded him. But we have a salary cap, and the Oilers have got to, they're going to do an extension here with Trent Frederick, who is 7 years younger than Evander Kane. And sometimes you lose good players as a result. So I'll take it one step further, you guys. I fully expect Evander to go in there to kill it and to get an extension with the Vancouver Canucks. So I'm fairly confident that's going to happen.
Well, Canuck fans are loving hearing that from you, Bob. No question about it. Just your reaction to his playoff performance. Didn't play a game in the regular season. A health situation. There were surgeries there. And you touched on it there, but just his performance in the playoffs. What do you think? 6 goals in 21 games.
Well, it's funny because to the highest levels of the Oilers organization, I knew there was a belief that a lot of people thought Kane could help Edmonton against LA specifically, and he did. And I'd like to tell you that I was surprised that he was as effective as he was, but I'm not surprised because he's a hell of an athlete. And so he is the type of player that could miss that much time and find a way to have an impact, certainly in the first 3 rounds. And I don't want to go down conspiracy theory here. In terms of the Stanley Cup final, Edmonton lost to a team that was just simply better, especially given the injury to Zach Hyman. But what I would say to you guys is I thought Evander kind of got taken a bit out of that series. Like there were some pretty tight calls on him. And there seemed to be, again, Florida were the better team. But I don't know if we got a chance to necessarily see what Evander could do. So I'm not at all surprised how well he played because I know how good of an athlete he is. And he's a pro. He's been doing this for a long time. Now, he had a surgery that nobody's ever had before, done on a hockey player. And then I think, if I recall correctly, back in January, they ended up finding a tumor. So he needed another procedure done that delayed his return. So he played 68 playoff games for the Oilers in the last 4 years. The first year he came in 21-22. He led all playoff goal scorers, right, with 13 goals. He was an absolute force against LA, and Calgary in back-to-back series, and then the Oilers, they ran up against Colorado. And I think everybody talks about Florida being the best team we've seen over the last several years. I think Colorado in 21-22 is the deepest team we've seen in a while. Certainly the most offensively talented and skilled. So, Kane came in his 4 years, he went through a lot. He had a brutal injury. And there's a couple other stories I'd like to tell you guys just about him stepping up and for his teammates and who he stepped up for, which I think revealed a lot about him.
Well, go for it, Bob. Tell us those stories. People in Vancouver are interested.
Well, so they're playing Minnesota, and Brandon Duhaim's running around, and this is in October of 23. So this is after. First of all, I'm going to work back. Actually,
Sure.
He suffers a severed wrist tendons. I mean, that could have been a career-ending injury. It was just awful to watch. It was a sickening, grotesque injury to see, and he comes back, and he really wasn't supposed to fight when he came back. And in his second game, Brady Tkachuk challenged him to a fight. And we all know that Matthew Tkachuk wanted no part of Evander Kane in the 22 playoffs, the 24 playoffs, and the 25 playoffs. But Matthew Tkachuk is not Brady. Brady is one tough SOB. And 2 games back, and Evander's squaring up, and I'm sitting there doing the game. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Like, you're coming back from a severed wrist tendons, you're fighting your second game back, and that's just who he is. And then fast forward to the next fall, they're playing Minnesota. Duhaime had run Derek Ryan twice in one shift. So we're not talking about Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. We're talking about a fourth line guy, Derek Ryan, and Evander was like, nope, not on my watch, and went after him and worked him over. And that's Duhaime's a legitimately tough guy, a lot younger than Evander. But the fact that he'd step up and fight for first liners or step up and fight for a fourth line guy closing out his career, I think that spoke a lot about Evander's willingness to do some of the stuff that a lot of players today either don't know how to do or just simply avoid doing. So, again, you're gonna have certain people out there cast their own perspectives on things without really knowing the person or knowing the player. And I'm going to tell you that, frankly, watching the Canucks play in the back half of the year, he's exactly what that team needs. And he is good. I know him. He's going to be motivated. He wanted to go to Vancouver. You guys both know that. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good trade. And again, it doesn't happen if there's not a salary cap. But there's a salary cap, and that's the way these things work.
Hey, Bob, the reaction in Vancouver today is not good. Evander has got in the news for the wrong reasons in the past, right? We've seen people say he's a cancer in the dressing room. What can you tell us about his time in Edmonton? Was he a cancer in the dressing room in Edmonton?
Well, I'm not in the dressing room.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that, like, I'm on the plane, and we have our own bus, as you guys know, when we travel. But I always laugh at all these people that seem to have a tremendous amount of impact or knowledge as to what goes on in the context of rooms. And so, again, Evander has the ability to be, if he ever wanted to do TV, he would be unreal at the end of his career. Like PK Subban, has got a huge following in, with ESPN. Evander would trump that. Like, he just has, he has he's a really smart guy, and he also knows how to sell himself. He did a ton of stuff off the ice, a lot of charity stuff, and some people, don't, they kind of discount that a little bit, but he was vested in the Indigenous community in Northern Alberta. He spent a lot of time helping out, disadvantaged children. In terms of in the dressing room, it's a family. We're around it a little. To be frank with you, I didn't hear a lot of bitching about Evander Kane from any of the other players. So what I did hear is that there was appreciation that he could do things that's kind of a lost art in today's in today's facets of the game and how it's played in terms of the gamesmanship. And that's something that, frankly, you look at the Canucks team that played the Oilers a couple of years ago in the playoffs. You don't have Zadorov anymore. Even Soucy had a little bit of a nasty streak to him once in a while. Miller was not a timid player. He was an aggressive guy. Well, now you're adding a little bit to your forward units, and you need it. That team needs it.
Oh.
So I always I feel a little like I work for the Oilers Entertainment Group, and I always feel a little uncomfortable. Well, what's going on in the room? I'm like, well, I don't really know because I'm not in the. We do have a show with cameras in the room, but I just kind of bristle at that suggestion. I just know how he dealt with us, and how I think the easiest thing to do is assess what we saw on the ice. And again, relatively speaking, he was a fairly productive player during the duration of his time at Edmonton. He was really compromised during the 24 playoffs. Okay, so he couldn't finish the Stanley Cup final. He was not skating on non-game days, not taking morning skates, needing to do whatever a player needs to do to find a way to get in the lineup. He came back at a healthier place this year for the playoffs. And again, I could easily see him contributing and being a very effective player. I get why the Vancouver Canucks took the bet on him. I do. It makes a lot of sense for them.
But the injuries, a little worried. There are people worried about the injuries, Bob. They were lengthy. He didn't play in the regular season. He's 33. He hasn't scored 30 goals since 2018 in San Jose, but he's still scoring 20-plus every year, though, Bob. And he's going to replace a guy here, Besser, who was scoring 20-plus every year too. But are you worried about the injuries? And, how much does he have left in the gas tank, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, he didn't play all year. He's going to have gas this coming season. And he was you talk about the numbers. Brock Besser played the net front in the Vancouver Canucks power play, right? Right-handed shot.
Yep.
And in the Oilers' case, Kane was not on the first power play unit when he was in the lineup. And that first power play unit until this year dominated the NHL over the last 5 seasons. So he didn't get the benefit of, I can prove it because in the last 4 years of the playoffs, the Oilers' first unit power play are 1, 2, 3, and then Nugent Hopkins, I think, is 8th and Hyman's 9th in scoring. So all 5 of those guys in the power play are in the top 10 of playoff scores over that 4-year run. Evander is the next highest scoring Oiler player, and he wasn't on the first unit. So in terms of and I do think Besser's going to have a lot of interest out there. That's a given. Besser's, probably going to make north of 5.125, which is the cap hit on Evander. But I would have to think the Canucks are going to use Kane on the power play. And if he plays a full season in 21-22 at Edmonton, he might have scored 40 goals because he had 22 goals in, I think it was 43 games. So and again, without being on the first unit. So he was a very productive player. Now, he's not necessarily a play driver. Okay. He needs a creative centerman to help him out. Last time I checked, you guys have one there. So, and he'll keep teams honest when he's on the ice. And he is a little bit unpredictable. And that gets the attention of other players.
And Bob, very quickly before we let you go, Stan Bowman, Jeff Jackson, reportedly in Toronto, talking with Connor McDavid about an extension. Very quickly, is there any doubt he's going to stay?
I 100% believe Connor will sign an extension, and the only question is going to be the duration of the term.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to hold you to that.
All right. Okay, and Bob, by the way, the Canucks, the media got kicked off the Canucks plane. I'm impressed that you're still on the Oilers plane.
Yeah.
Very good on you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm only a jackass in person, not when I'm around teams.
I don't know about that. We thank you for joining us, Bob. Short notice.
Anytime.
You're the best. Thank you.
Thanks for reaching out last night, Rick. Take care.
All the time, buddy. You're a good man. Good man.